This is an inspiring event, an annual event, and I'm proud to be able to help and participate. My name's Jack Boyle. Some of you know me. I've been, about 20 years ago I retired from my financial career. I was a banker and didn't know what to do, so I became a political hack. And people would say, "What's a political hack?" And I'd say, "Look at me. That's what a political hack is." But I've been on this Republican State Central Committee. I've run congressional campaigns. I've done a whole bunch of things. And a couple years ago, I just was burned out and just was tired of the whole grind or whatever, and decided I was going to step back from it. And frankly, Kate approached me to come and help with the Right to Life Action Coalition and Cleveland Right to Life, and so we are colleagues on in that effort. And I was really inspired to do that. I thought, oh, I'm going to get to relax a little bit. You know, things are going to calm down. We knew the storm of the abortion amendment was coming. I didn't realize how fast it was coming, and so as much as I ran away from politics, it ran after me and dragged me back in. So. We talked about, I'm sure, a lot of different things, and you know, I'm honored to work with Cleveland Right to Life and with the Right to Life Action Coalition, but I want to talk about politics again, and I see President Trump over there holding a sign about the next issue 1 that we're going to face here in November, and I'd like to just talk about that for a minute. That issue 1 is going to, if it's passed, change the way all of our legislative districts are drawn. Now, well, for 400 years in you know, England and in the continental United States and whatever, we've had a process where the elected officials would draw the legislative districts. And U.S. Constitution provides that there will be a census every 10 years, and then in the next 2-year cycle, the different various states will redraw their congressional districts and their, you know, for us, the General Assembly, the Ohio House and the Ohio Senate. And then actually local counties and cities and whatever redraw their, you know, wards and precincts and all that from there. And that's been the process forever. And the party that controls, you know, the legislature and the statewide, and I won't go into all the details and whatever, has drawn those districts forever. Well, after the 1960 census, the Democrats controlled Ohio, and they drew the lines. After the 19 census, Democrats controlled Ohio, they drew the lines. 1980, Democrats controlled, they drew the lines. I believe it was 1990, the Democrats still controlled it. Finally, in 2000, the Republicans gained you know, enough of the control of the General Assembly and the statewide that they were able to draw the lines. The Republicans were. And the Democrats said, "No fair," even though they've been doing it for decades, okay? 2010. And so they put an amendment on the ballot to change the way the process would be so that they could control it, they could manipulate it, and that process, that amendment failed. 2010, Republicans controlled, drew the districts, same thing, no fair. Another constitutional amendment also failed. In 2020, you probably all remember, we had this well, in order to try to address some of the abuses, in 2015 and 17, the Republican various office holders put 2 constitutional amendments on the Ohio ballot, both of which passed by over 70%, and they put some rules in the process. You can no longer split a city, you know, with 2 or 3 different districts. You know, the districts, the community had to be inside one district. The district's size had to be consistent. So if, I think right now, if there's 99 members of the Ohio House, if you divide the population of Ohio by 99, there should be roughly 117,000 voters in each district, and the amendment that passed in 2017 said it can't be more than 5% above or below that, so that you have roughly even districts. Other rules that kind of made the process more understandable and regular. Well, the trouble with that is the Republicans still controlled all of the pieces, and the Democrats said no fair, and they sued 4 times. If you remember, after the 2020 census cycle before last, we had 4 separate sets of maps that the Democrats plus Maureen O'Connor, who was the Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court, who was supposedly a Republican, but anyway, sided with the Democrats, and all the maps were declared unconstitutional. And finally, the federal courts came in and said, you have to have elections, so you have to have maps. These are the maps. Well, now Maureen O'Connor and Eric Holder and Mark Elias, if you know these people, supported by lots of billionaire money, much of which is from out of the country, have put an amendment that will be on the ballot that we will vote on, issue 1 in November. And what this issue is going to do is take away all the rules. It will set up a commission, and the commission will draw the districts. And there will be no rules. If they want to make all the Republican districts have 200,000 people and all the Democrat districts only have 75,000, that's the way they can do it, because it's only up to the commission. It specifically says in the amendment, Ohio residents will not be allowed to go to any court to challenge anything they do. If the commission says that's it, that's it. The amendment provides that the commission can spend whatever it needs to spend on salaries, expenses, consultants, whatever, and the General Assembly has to pay it. There's no limit, there's no guidelines, there's no whatever. It's in this issue 1. And the whole idea, of course, is if you can't win at the ballot box, you go to court, and you fix it, in some way that you have influence over. So this issue 1 is a danger to Ohio. And we've been a red state reliably for some time. Our system works. We talk about being unhappy about the results of last year's issue 1, where the abortion amendment passed. But there are still things we can do, and I will give an example. We had legislation passed called the SAFE Act in this last session, and the SAFE Act essentially did 2 things. One, it protected children against the transgender stuff. No, chemical or pharmaceutical, transitioning of minors, and no surgery. It outlawed it in Ohio. And it also prevented men from playing women's sports and being allowed to go in women's bathrooms and locker rooms and whatever. And for no reason that I understood, Governor DeWine vetoed that. But we had majorities in both houses that overrode the veto, and the SAFE Act is now law in Ohio, and our children and our young women are safe, or they're safer. This will prevent that kind of thing from happening. This is an attempt by the people who can't win at the ballot box to fix the rules so that they can win, by manipulating things. And so here we go again. We've got another issue 1 that we're facing. How are we going to do? The same array of money and outside influence will be supporting this that supported issue 1 last time. I know there were plenty of people here and plenty of people that I worked with who were very discouraged and dispirited after, the failure of us to stop that issue 1. I don't know how this is going to go. There are some things. The General Assembly passed a law that said money from outside the country could not be used to influence Ohio elections. Now, of course, there's a lefty judge that put an injunction on that, but Attorney General Yost and our Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, are in the process of appealing that, and hopefully they will prevail and will keep some foreign money out of it, so maybe it'll be a little more balanced fight. But the bottom line is we have to vote no on issue 1 again. And it is incumbent upon us. We've talked, we heard President Washington, we've heard other speakers here talk about the foundation of this country under the leadership of our Lord. And at the end of the very dispiriting campaign that we had last year, had lots of volunteers, what do we do and whatever, and what I will say to them, what I said to them, what I'll say now, and what I will continue to say is, our Lord does not require us to be successful. He requires us to be faithful. We cannot give up. We cannot give in. Every day we need to do what we can do. And this is the next test that we have, and this is an example of that. And so you wouldn't be here if you weren't faithful. I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be with this group. I'm proud to be friends with Hal Warner and part of this, and with President Washington and President Trump and the other speakers. And so thank you very much for coming out. There'll be yard signs before very long about vote no on issue 1. I actually have a bunch of yard signs from last year. I wonder if I could use those. It's vote no on issue 1 again. So anyway, have a wonderful day. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your patriotism. God bless America.